Now, if we look at Article 210.12b, this tells us where that protection is required. So all 120-volt branch circuit supplying outlets, and I'm highlighting outlets there because we'll talk about that in a minute, in kitchens, family rooms, dining rooms, living rooms, bedrooms, laundry areas, hallways, closets, and similar areas, and then also in dormitory units, they all require AFCI protection. And something that's brought up often in inspections is, does the smokes need to be protected, smoke detectors and CO detectors? And yes, if they're going in those areas, anything that are in those areas that require protection, they are going to have to be protected by an AFCI protection device. And the reason that I highlighted outlet is because if, again, you go to Article 100, and that's a good place always to go to in the NEC to determine how they're defining different terms in the NEC. So if we look at outlet, it's a point on the wiring system at which current is taken to supply utilization equipment. So if you look at this picture in the slide, that is an outlet. Anything that wires are coming out of are an outlet. And just to give you a little summary of the history of changes, 2017 was where they really expanded the arc fault requirements, and it was basically living areas. And if it's an area that's considered a living space, that was an area that needed arc fault protection. In 2020 was where they expanded it to include dormitory units, and they made it a little bit clearer. And then they also talked about replacements and retrofits. So they made it more clear on if you're replacing or retroing out an AFCI required location. 23 clarified AFCI applications a little bit better for alterations and upgrades. So there wasn't any new code, but there were some clarifications where they added some code language. The 2023 code also gave you the specific 14 room areas. So they put that in a list, which made it clearer and easier. And they titled it dwelling units. The other thing I want to bring up with these type breakers is that there has been some confusion at different times on inspections where electricians have thought that they're putting in a dual function, AFCI, GFCI. A combination is the type breaker that picks up parallel and series faults, as we talked about. A dual function, or as this breaker here says, all-in-one breaker, where they list that it's AFCI and GFCI protection. There's a big difference there. So in the beginning, it was probably more of an issue, but I still run into it every now and then where an electrician will put a combo in a combination breaker and think, because it states that on the breaker itself, that it's GFCI and AFCI protection, and it is not. It either has to be dual purpose or it has to list, as this one does, somewhere on their AFCI, GFCI protection in order for it to be protecting both of those faults. Okay, so to sum it up, Article 210.12 is the article all about AFCI protection. It's required for all 15 amp and 20 amp 120 volt branch circuits supplying outlets, as we discussed, in kitchens, family rooms, dining rooms, living rooms, bedrooms, laundry areas, hallways, closets, or similar areas.